Hi everyone, this is your P6 Foundation Science 2014 Booklet B. So let's get started. Question 17. So the diagram below shows some of the organisms found in the food chain. So you can see four organisms there. You're supposed to arrange the organisms according to how one is eaten by another. So essentially what I need to form is my food chain. Okay, so let's go. Let's try. Now the first in the food chain is always your producer. It's always your food producer. Now these are just notes that will help you along the way. So the food producer is always a plant, and the first up is your seaweed. Seaweeds next in the list is your shrimp, because the fish don't really eat the seaweed. Well, it can, but definitely the shrimp don't eat the fish. So the shrimp is eaten by your fish. And finally, your fish is eaten by your seal. Okay? So you're supposed to circle one organism that will decrease in population size immediately if the fish is removed from the food chain. So if my fish is removed, so if my fish goes down, which one will start to go down? The food source goes away, the seal will be the one who will be next to follow, because the seal eats the fish for food. So this is the one that will decrease immediately. Okay? Right, question 18. So diagram below shows an organism in the food chain. So I got my grass, I got my insect, and I got my bird. So what is the source of energy in the food chain below? So where do I get my energy from? Yeah, I get my energy from this fella here, which is my grass. Oops. So that's the source of energy, because the food producers, they obtain energy from the sun. So you're supposed to circle the correct answer. When the snake population moved in and killed many of the birds, the number of insects will... Okay, so I've got a snake population and moving in and killed all the birds. So if all my birds drop, no more birds, how would that impact your insects? So how would that impact your insects? If all the predators are gone, the insects will be very happy and they will start to increase because no one is eating the insects. So answer is increase. Right, question 19. Supposed to study the food chain. So I've got my algae, I've got tadpole, and I've got my dragonfly nymph. So based on your observations, you're supposed to tick the correct box. Okay, so let's see. One by one. Algae is a food producer. Is that true? Yes, my algae is a food producer. So that's true. Let me change a different color. Now, tadpole obtains... Oopsie. Tadpole obtains energy from the algae indirectly. So does tadpole obtain energy indirectly? Indirectly means go through another person, remember, or another thing. No, it just gets it directly. It's just next to it. So this answer is false. Tadpole and dragonfly nymph are not food consumers. So my tadpole and dragonfly nymph, are they not food consumers? No, they are. They consume food. So they eat something. So they are called food consumers. So this is false. Last one. Dragonfly nymph gets its energy from the algae directly. Is that true? Does it get its energy from the algae directly? So you see, dragonfly nymph is here. Algae is here. Is there something in the middle? Yes, there is. So it's false. It gets its energy indirectly. Right? So your answer is true, and then the rest is false. Question 20. When magnet X was brought near magnet Y, so when X was brought near Y, magnet Y moved down. See? Shoot. Moved down the slope as shown. So they want you to state the forces Q, R, and S. So if this moves down because of the magnet, these two magnets, what's happening here? Yes, these two here are actually repelling because they are both magnets, and if you know that unlike the light poles will repel, so the fact that they're repelling, this force is what kind of force? Yes, this force is magnetic force. It's a magnetic force. Now let's look at the other forces. R is this force that goes down. Which force pulls things down? Yes, that's right. Gravitational force. Or gravity. Okay, so gravitational force. Now the final force is this. This goes in the opposite direction of the movement, which is Q. So what force goes in the opposite direction of movement? Yeah, we've learned this before. Frictional force, or friction itself. Okay? Now let's try and fill in the blanks here. The weight of an object is caused by the... Weight is caused by the... Yes, the gravitational force. Between the object and the earth. What force and what force act from a distance? So the key word here is from a distance. So what are the two forces that act on a distance? Remember? Yes, magnetic force is one of them, because they don't have to touch each other, and gravitational force is the other one. So these two forces, your magnetic and your gravitation, these two forces are forces that do not need to touch in order for the force to happen. But what is the force that acts on a surface? Which is the force that acts on a surface, between the surfaces? Yes, it's your frictional force. Your frictional force is the one that acts on the surface. Acts between the surface, sorry. So there must be contact, there must be touching. Can? Okay, question 21. So you have this water cycle up there that you see there. So I've got my water vapor to cloud, rain, and sea. So you're supposed to identify a process E and process G. So let's see. Now, process E is from the sea to the water vapor. So what is the sea? What state is the sea in? Yes, my sea is in my liquid state because it's water. My water vapor, what state is it? It's gas. So from liquid to gas, what is that process? Yes, liquid to gas, the process is evaporation. Now, here, water vapor is gas. My clouds, remember, clouds are actually water vapor that condenses and forms water droplets. So this is actually liquid because it is water droplets. These are actually tiny water droplets. So it is liquid. So gas to liquid, I already mentioned, the process is called condensation. Right, so E is evaporation, G is condensation. So which of the process, E or G, involves heat gain? So you need heat in order to change liquid to gas. So this process E has heat gain. So always remember that. Heat gain because liquid needs a lot of energy in order to change it to gas. Gas, because it's flowing around, you actually need to lose the energy to then condense into water droplets. So my process is E. Okay, question 22. So Jacob placed object N, M and N on each side of a magnet as shown. So you observe that object M repelled. So here repelled. But N, nothing happens. Okay, nothing happens here. So what can you conclude? So which object is likely to be a magnet? So let's recall our concepts here. When we talk about magnets, remember only magnets can repel. So if it's a magnet and a magnetic material, it doesn't repel. So object M, which one will be, so is object M a magnet? Yes. Oopsie. So object M is likely a magnet. So which is then the non-magnetic material, definitely will be N, because nothing happened here. If nothing happened here, then obviously it's not even magnetic. Because if it's magnetic, N will be attracted. Okay. Now then, he carried out this experiment here. He has this magnet here. He tie a paper clip, and woo, the thing seems to be floating in the air. So, what is happening? Is the paper clip attracted by the magnet, or is it repelled by the magnet? So obviously, it has to be attracted by the magnet. Cannot be repelled lah. Repel means it will go down. Okay. All right. Question 23. Well, this is 23 onwards is where it gets a little bit more difficult. But if your concept is strong, then you shouldn't have any problems. So remember, for question 23 onwards, your explanation questions must always be scientific and specific. So answer the question, but make sure you have the scientific concepts in your answer itself. Okay. So question 23, Patrick wanted to find out if the amount of light affects the rate of photosynthesis. Okay, again, we are looking at an experiment. So she's wanting to find out if the amount of light, so this is my variable that is going to be changed, affects the rate of photosynthesis. So I want to find out whether there's more light, it will make food faster, lesser light, make food slower, something like that. So then it says, after 20 minutes, bubbles of gas were seen coming out of the plant. What is this gas? So let's recap this for the third time. During photosynthesis, plants will take in carbon dioxide, and using of water, it will need light to produce sugar, which is your food, plus what? Yes, your oxygen. So what is the gas that appears out of the plant? It will be your oxygen. Okay, it's quite straightforward. Now, let's see. So Patrick placed the light source near the beaker and counted the number of bubbles. So the results are shown here. So the distance 10, the number of bubbles will be 20. When the distance gets nearer, it becomes 8, it got more bubbles. And when even nearer, it has the most amount of bubbles. So, how did the distance of lamp from the beaker affect the number of bubbles produced in 1 minute? So you can see that the shorter the distance, as my distance gets shorter and shorter and shorter, the number of bubbles get more and more and more. Alright, so that's basically what you will write. So the shorter the distance, the more or the greater the number of bubbles. Now you can answer it the other way around. You can say the longer the distance, the lesser the number of bubbles. That's fine as well. Okay? Right, let's look at 24. So Daniel watered 3 similar plants, E, F, and G, with different amounts of water. So now this is important. So he watered with different amount of water. Okay, so not all the same, some are different. So after 10 days, he recorded the height of the plants. So let's look at the table up there. So I've got plant E. Amount of water is 25 cm3. Now the height at day 1, you notice all are the same because it's all the same type of plants at the start. But the height at day 10 is 15. F, given more water, 35 cm3. It seems to grow taller compared to 15. And finally G, given the most amount of water at 45 cm3, grew the tallest after 10 days at 25 cm. So the question A is asking how much height did plant F. So let's look at plant F here. Alright, so let's look at plant F. How much height did plant F grow over 10 days? So plant F started off with 5. And then after that it became to 15. So how much did it gain? So 20 minus 5 will become 15. Sorry, from 5, did I say 15? No, okay, sorry. Let me say this again. At day 1 it's 5 cm. Day 10 is 20 cm. So it grew by 15 cm. So 20 minus 5. So from his result, which plant, E, F, or G, is the shortest on the 10th day? So very obvious, look at it. Which is the shortest? Yes, E is the shortest. It's very easy to answer. Now the last part, part C, for the plant to grow well, they must have grow at least 20 cm in 10 days. Okay, so that's, somebody defined it, that if a plant wants to grow, if they want the plant to grow well, it must grow at least 20 cm in 10 days. So based on the table, now you're supposed to state the amount of water needed each day to ensure plants grow well. So this is what you need to state. Now please take note. You're supposed to state the amount of water needed, not anything else. So I want to grow at least 20 cm. So which is the one that will grow at least 20 cm? Yes, if you look at G, this one plus 20. This is only plus 15. And this is only plus 10. So this is what I'm looking for, at least plus 20. Now I'm not asking for which plant, I'm asking for the amount of water. So your answer is 45. Please always remember to have your units cm cube. Because if not, what do 45 mean? It could mean 45 donkeys, 45 monkeys. No, it's 45 cm cube. That's the unit to measure volume of water. Okay? Okay, 25. So I've got this diagram over there. It shows 6 types of living things. Okay. Now this first question is supposed to state the community. What community is this? Community, remember, a community is a group of animals living in the same place. So what kind of place or what community is this? Yep, this is your pond community. Okay. So based on the diagram, state the number of populations. Okay, remember, population means same family. Remember this. When I say we are the same population, like the population of Singaporeans, population of humans, we are the same family. Okay, so I want to find out how many different types of families, different types of animals are there. Okay, so let's see. Now my frog is one population. Tadpole. Does tadpole belong to the frog? Yes, tadpole is the young of a frog. So actually, my tadpole and frog are the same, belong to the same family. So this is my first population. Hydrilla will be my second population. Water hyacinth is my third. Water hyacinth, hydrilla not related, although they are both plants, but they are different types of plants. Lotus plant is my fourth, again not related. What else do I have? My fish here. Oh no, where's my cursor? Okay, so fish here is my fifth population. Any more? No. So number of population is 5. Now besides providing food for the animals, just another reasons why hydrilla are important to the fish in the pond. So a few reasons. One, it could be to provide shelter. So it provides protection. Okay, or you can say it provides oxygen. That's the other reason. So you just have to give me one. Okay, just give me one. So either tell me it provides shelter or protection for the animals in the pond, or it provides oxygen for the animals in the ponds. Now part D, Sean puts more fish in the pond. After a few weeks, he found more plants growing. Wow, why is that so? Okay, so when I put more fish, why is it that more plants grow? So we need to think, how does the fish benefit the plant? What does fish have that will benefit the plants? So let's think, what do fish do? Well, they breathe in oxygen, they breathe out carbon dioxide. Is carbon dioxide useful for plants? Yes, it is, because the plants will need the carbon dioxide to make food. So that could be one reason why there's more plants, because the fishes breathe out carbon dioxide. Okay, we're going to say give out. Carbon dioxide, which allows the plants to make food. Okay. Now another answer is because the fish, they will have droppings. Right, question 26. Now let's make a model of a part of a human system When she pulled the rubber sheet down, the balloon inflated. Okay. Now, so basically, which system is represented by the model? What do you think? I have this drinking straw here. Yeah, I've got this balloon. I've got this rubber sheet. I've got a bottle. What do you think it represents? Yeah, this represents your respiratory system. Okay, and so which is the body part represented by the balloon? Yes, that would be your lungs. Alright. So what will happen to the balloon when the rubber sheet is pushed up? So when I push it up, what it does is, because there's lesser space here, so it will force the air in here out. Essentially, this is how you breathe. We breathe using our diaphragm. So diaphragm is actually a muscle that is below your lungs. So because your lungs have no muscle, so it cannot move on its own. So how you inhale and contract is actually through your diaphragm. So when your diaphragm pushes up, that's when the air from your lungs is being pushed out. So when you breathe in, it's your diaphragm actually pushing down that sucks the air in. Alright, so that's why singers, they actually train their diaphragm, their muscles, so that they can breathe in more air. Swimmers as well, they train their diaphragm to breathe in more air. Okay, so when the balloon sheet is pushed up, the balloon actually gets slightly deflated. It will not be totally, yeah. So those of you who can say deflated, I will give you the marks, which is quite good already, and the fact that you can identify that. Alright. Question 27. So a force was applied on the floor surface as shown. Okay, so a force, so it push the ball, and after a while, the ball stops. So name two other forces acting on the ball. So other than this force here, what other forces will be acting on this ball? Now definitely, gravitational force is always there, because gravitational force is acting on everything. What is the other force? Yeah, when a ball moves, you don't have magnetic force here, but you have frictional force. Okay, so frictional force is always there when something is moving. Now the same ball was pushed again with the same amount of force, but then it moves a shorter distance. It only moved 15 cm. So give a reason why it moved a shorter distance. Well, what could be the reason be? Why is it that something moves a shorter distance? Yes, the key here is friction slows things down, remember? Yeah, friction slows things down. So the reason is because there is more friction on surface B than surface A. So you need to compare, right? Because this question is asking you to compare. Why is it shorter on B than on A? So you need to say that there's more friction on B than on A. So that's answering the question, but where's your scientific concept? So the scientific concept is, since friction slows things down, the ball moves a shorter distance on surface B. Right, so the key idea is friction slows things down. So because of that, and because there's more friction on B, so that's why your ball moves a shorter distance, because it slows things down. Okay? Now part C, besides pushing harder, so one way is to push the ball harder so it moves a further distance. How else can we do it? So if we cannot push the ball harder, we have to push it at the same amount of force. How else can we make it move further? So remember, friction slows things down. So if I don't want to slow it down, I need to reduce friction. So how do I reduce friction? You can put things like water, or powder, or oil. So basically any lubricant or anything that will reduce friction. Alright? Now question 28, this is on the concept of heat. This is a P4 topic, so let's see whether you can recall. So Davey wanted to cool the hot milk by placing the milk bottle in a basin of water with ice. It's something that we do all the time. We want to cool something hot, we put it in ice. So give a reason why the ice cube started to melt. So why did the ice melt? So ice melt because they gain heat. So where did the ice gain heat from? Yes, it gained heat from the hot milk. So remember, please write this down, this concept. Heat travels from hotter region to cooler region. This is your this is your key concept here for heat. Heat flows from a hotter to a cooler region until both are of the same temperature. So please take note of that. So the reason why the ice cubes started to melt is the ice cubes gained heat from the hot milk. So it gained heat from your hot milk itself. Now, so Davy poured equal amount of hot water into a metal and a foam cup to see which cup can keep the water warm for a longer time. So she measured the temperature. So the metal one, at the start both are the same temperature, but at the end of 10 minutes, the metal cup, the hot water is 30 degrees, while the foam is 35. So the question is asking which cup, metal or foam, did the water lose heat faster? So which one lost heat faster? When you lose heat faster, your temperature will drop more. So which one has a lower temperature? Your metal. So the metal cup is the one that lose heat faster. So this is your metal cup. Alright. Now, based on Davy's result, which cup is metal or foam is a poor conductor of heat? So remember, poor conductor, the concept here is poor conductor. Let me write it here. Okay, concept here. Poor conductor means does not allow heat to pass easily. So it blocks the heat from flowing. So which one blocks the heat? It's quite obvious, and even you can use common sense. You know that the foam is the one that blocks the heat. That's why we always use foam cups to hold our hot drinks. Yeah, because it will not allow my hot drink to cool down so quickly. Because foam is a poor conductor of heat. Can understand? Question 39. This is on electricity, conductors, insulator. Right, let's look. So he set up this experiment. Okay, the wire became hot. So the wire became hot. So that means electricity is passing through. So my wire become hot means electricity is passing through. Wire became hot equals electricity passing through. So please take note of this concept here. So my wire become hot means electricity is passing through. Okay. So now you're supposed to state a property of water that causes the wire to become hot after some time. So the fact that electricity is passing through, so what does that tell me about my water? Does my water allow electricity to pass through? It is. So that tells me water is a good conductor of electricity. Okay, so it's a good conductor because it allows electricity to pass through. Now then it says part B, when lightning strikes. Lightning is the light, not thunder. Thunder is the sound. Boom! Lightning is the light, the electricity. Okay, so when lightning strikes, swimmers are warned against swimming in water. So we've figured out that water is a good conductor of electricity. So why is it that swimming in water is not allowed during a thunderstorm? Thunderstorm means there's lightning and thunder. Yeah, because water is a good conductor of electricity. So that will give you half mark. So that means that the swimmer may be electrocuted in the water. So electrocuted means you are being struck by lightning, and the lightning strikes you lah. Basically you die. Okay, if the lightning strikes you. Okay, so water is a good conductor of electricity. So what happens if you are swimming and the lightning strikes? The electricity will go through your body and you will get killed. Okay? Right, finally, last question. Let's take a look. Now, Evan set up the experiment as shown in the diagram below. So I have this rubber ball here. And I have this smooth wooden ramp. So, it will go down. So the table below shows the results of the experiment. So he actually used different types of balls. So you see here, I've got my rubber ball initially. Yep. Then after that, it changed to a tennis ball, then changed to a glass ball. So the average time taken to reach the floor is different for each of them. So the first part here is, what is the force that causes the ball to roll down? So what is this force here? Why does this ball roll down? What kind of force? Now we learned three. It's magnetic, gravitational, frictional. So which one? Cannot be magnetic because there are no magnets here. Is it frictional? Now frictional slows things down, so it doesn't really tell me why it rolls down. Yes, because of... So the third and most possible reason is because of gravity. So gravity pulls things down. So because there's a pulling force, the rubber ball will roll down the ramp. So it's because of gravitational force. Or you can say gravity. Now, then you're supposed to state the force that caused the difference in the amount of time taken for the balls to reach the floor. So why is it that the balls take different time? Well, reason is because of friction. Because friction slows things down. So if the object is more rough, it will slow down and therefore take a longer time to reach the floor. So now you're supposed to explain why the glass ball took the least amount of time to reach the floor. So now glass compared to rubber, compared to tennis ball, what does it feel? It feels the smoothest. Okay, so the reason is because the friction between the glass ball and the ramp is the least. I have the least amount of friction, so that's why it takes the least amount. It means it's the fastest, the least amount. When you have shorter time, it means it's faster, correct? Like a race. Oh, very fast. Short time. Okay, so take note, that's the understanding here. So the fact that the glass ball, see, took 2.1 seconds, very fast, compared to the tennis ball is 4 seconds. So the reason is because the friction is the least, so it's less friction, it rolls down fastest. Can? Alright, we've come to the end of this paper. Take care.